can see the topic for our webinar today is preparing for the next 5 years. I've got a couple of great co-hosts here that I'm going to introduce in a little bit. But before we get to that, let me just give a little bit of context for what we have going on here at Milrose and HLZAE. So at the beginning of 2020, Milrose Consultants, and as I said, Howard L. Zimmerman Architects and Engineers, formed an exclusive strategic partnership. And the goal of that, which we'll talk more about, was to offer a complete set of services from beginning to end of the project lifecycle. And it's pretty excited the way that this has come together and what we have to offer our clients. And this is a part of a 5-year strategy that Milrose has undertaken now a few years ago, 2019, to really build out both scope of service and scope of geography. And so we've added and partnered with companies, Permit Advisors, SF Codes, McCormick, Compliance Consulting, Integrated Group, Special Inspection Services, and of course our co-presenter today, Howard Zimmerman, to add special inspection services, fire department, a whole host of things that you, our clients, need. And hand in hand with that has gone geographic expansion. So as you can see, we have now 9 offices across the country, starting in the Northeast with dots on this map, so that we can service our nationwide clients nationwide as a single point of contact, both for expanded services and expanded geography. And here are a few projects some of you, depending on where you are, might recognize. The projects here, obviously, New York City, you can see Times Square, Philadelphia, Denver, LA. So we have really, as I said, expanded our presence both deep and wide. So now let me introduce Lou, and I'll let Lou introduce himself, and then Howard. Let me introduce our co-presenters today, who are icons in the industry. I won't attempt to do justice introducing them. I'll just literally let them go about it themselves. So Lou, why don't you step in here, and then let Howard go right behind you.
That'd be great. Again, thank you, Jason, for that informative introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We have an exciting program ahead of us. For those of you who don't know, Milrose was founded in 1988 to provide the New York City real estate community a level of municipal consulting that mirrored their business goals and a vision for a prosperous city. Having worked for Ed Koch in the early 1980s, I participated in the rebuilding of a city that was left for dead by Washington, D.C., as Fortune 100 firms fled to the Sun Belt. Throughout my career, I've guided the firm as founder, president, and chairman. I'm very proud where we are today and where we're going. And I'm very proud to please say hello to our newest partner, Howard Zimmerman.
Thank you, Lou. That was very kind. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I founded Howard Zimmerman Architects and Engineers in 1981, and we are a full-service architectural firm that specializes in interior and exterior restoration, preservation, and the alteration of existing buildings and their systems. In 1980, Local Law 10 was passed to protect the facades of buildings after the death of Grace Gold near Columbia. And the city was in a much different place and condition then, and I decided at that time to get on board because no other architectural firm or engineering firm was interested in that, and I saw opportunity. Today, our team of architects and engineers, technical and building system specialists, offer professional expertise, particularly in the exterior envelope, MEP and fire protection system upgrades, and forensic investigation. Over the past 40 years, HLZAE has developed an excellent reputation as the go-to architectural engineering firm for existing residential, commercial, and institutional properties in the New York City region. Our specialty has also been taking care of portfolios of real estate owned by real estate families, big and small, but some of our clients are with us 15, 20, and in some instances, 25 years.
That's great. Thank you for the introductions. So having talked about yourselves and your individual companies, I think it might be interesting to talk about why the companies have come together and why now. So Lou, why don't I let you kind of start off, and then we'll pass it over to Howard and get his thoughts.
Great. Thanks again, Jason. So we partnered with HLZAE in the fourth quarter of 2021. The strength of our two firms better position our expanded organization to help our clients solve their mandated compliance issues. We're now capable of coordinating interior and exterior compliance efforts, manage landlord and tenant expectations, and expedite increased value for their investors. We leverage each other's unique strengths and deliver a more consolidated experience to our clients. It really was an easy decision. And if anyone who's ever met Howard, you'll know that he's a charming guy. And there's actually a secret. There's another Zimmerman in that organization with the first letter H also, who's on this call, but we got him blocked out for now. Plus, everybody in New York City knows the HLZ brand, including thousands of tourists who see his sign on their photographs in the landmark Flatiron building. He is a global organization recognized for his tremendous branding. I don't think you can walk down the street in Manhattan without seeing the HLZAE sign on a sidewalk bridge. And if there's a bridge, there's a local law 11, cycle 9 in progress. And you can bet dollars, what do they say, dollars to donuts, that Howard and his team of professionals are doing an outstanding job there. Howard?
Thank you. To be honest with you, we were pursued by a number of architectural engineering firms, private equity. But to be honest with you, from the moment I met Lou, who could not love him? Also, we had similar backgrounds. He grew up in Flushing. His father was a postal service carrier with a leather bag on his arm, throwing mail at your house. My father was a single practitioner accountant. I grew up in the Lower East Side, and we, crawled our way up the hard way. So we had similar backgrounds, similar personalities, and similar ambitions. At HLZAE, we strive to always give our clients the excellent service they deserve. And this partnership with Milrose is just one more way for us to do that. HLZAE's partnership with Milrose will open up new opportunities and enable us to accelerate our national growth and expand into new markets, also to broaden and enhance the portfolio of services that we can offer to our clients who are building owners and property managers.
That's great. Thank you. So I'm getting to the heart of the topic for the webinar today. Obviously, we've had a lot going on the last few years in the city and around the country. So maybe a question for both of you, and we'll start with you, Lou. What do you see as the current state of affairs with the building department, and maybe even overall in the New York City real estate landscape?
Sure. Well, Jason, I believe that everyone will agree that we're coming off of a tough time in New York City history, right? Throughout the pandemic, Milrose has maintained a healthy working relationship with all agencies, including the mayor's office, the FDNY, Transit, and the DOB. These agencies did their best to staff offices, and adjust to a work from home for environment. That's something that was not only new to us in the private industry, but from the city standpoint, it was revolutionary. But they did their best, and they actually, I think they exceeded their own expectations. So 3 cheers to the agencies. Our development projects require us to work closely with city, state, and federal agencies and to navigate through an intense, complex regulatory web. Without these relationships, projects, they would have faltered, right? One building, we had to get the FAA approval because it's over 1,350 feet tall. And, there's not too many of those buildings out there, but we had to go down and find the right people at the FAA and get those approvals. But throughout COVID, where some people, retreated. A lot of the agencies really stepped forward and did everything that they needed to do at that time. There's always changes, right? New York City agency fees for a tenant fit out or a landlord improvement project, they range from a low of 2% to a high of 4% of stated construction value. Doesn't sound like much, but it's an incredible cost, almost equivalent to a tax. This is twice the cost of 10 years ago. Millions of dollars in permit agency permit fees pass through our firm monthly. We actually set up impress accounts for us to manage the amount of money that the city collects. Fines and permit fees are a budgeted revenue source needed for New York City to operate. In 2022, New York City expects over $2 billion in municipal fines, of which $100 million alone will come from DOB inspectors issuing compliance violations to this industry. And that's the reason that we're having today's webinar, the importance of compliance.
Lou, to that point, I think an interesting fact that we talked about the other day was you said, I believe, I forgot the numbers, but parking tickets, the collection of parking ticket fines was a huge generator of money for the city, whereas building department fees and fines was just covering administrative costs.
Right.
And now the city has turned the building department into a financial entity that makes money for the city. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, Howard, just to jump in on that, when I looked at the budget and read it for the city, parking violation ticketing was expected to generate $960 million in fees. It's incredible. I didn't think we had that much room for parking violations, but clearly without that money, the city can't operate. So
on a much smaller level, bringing it to facades, late filing fees for FISP now are $1,000 a month. Previously, they were $250 a month. So that's 4 times that they jacked it up. And failure to file a FISP report has increased from $1,000 to $5,000 a year. So that's 5 times. We see a steady increase in the total amount of fines levied across all agencies. Stop work order fines are now as high as $25,000 for a level 1 infraction. Also, there are more local laws. HLZAE has also a long history of working closely, like Milrose, with the DOB and helping our clients stay in compliance with current and upcoming New York City local laws. New York City municipal agencies have been very busy in recent years creating and enforcing existing laws and coming up with new local laws. Our relationship with the DOB, combined with our team of experts, help to navigate these local laws and make sure our clients, your buildings, are prepared for any existing or upcoming new deadlines. Our goal is always to keep you informed so your company knows what you need to handle and when you need to handle it by. There are also safety regulations. The DOB has made several changes in recent years to improve safety. As a result, they have hired more inspectors than plan examiners, and this has led to more time being needed for approval because these inspectors are novices and are, receiving on-the-job training, and I'll leave it at that.
I'm still thinking about the parking fines. I guess I'm doing my part to help New York City fund its operations there. I feel pretty like a
Jason, don't drive in here, Jason. You better stay back and stay in Texas. It's nice and easy. Right?
Well, speaking of timelines, time is the enemy of a construction project. Once you start, you got to get it done. So, Lou, back to you again. What are some of the steps that clients can take to optimize DOB approvals and make sure that things happen in a timely fashion?
Sure. I mean, the last thing we want here at Milrose is a phone call from a client saying that my project's delayed, right? I mean, that's just, I used to have jet black hair and now I got white hair, and pretty soon I'll join Howard with no hair at this rate, right? So we need to, a couple of suggestions, and I thought hard about this for a while. So I wrote down that there are 4 easy steps that everyone can participate in to shorten the approval process, right? So for me, the key to success is increased communication amongst the team and early engagement of our code and zoning professionals. There's no longer any value in filing the building department set. And the urge to file early isn't always correct and typically results in longer approval times. For those who don't know what a building department set is, we would file something with 60% completed drawings in order to get into the queue. And, as the drawings progress, we would swap them out, and it does not work with this new computerized system. It's no benefit whatsoever. Also, ask your design professional to review the objections issued on previously permitted work types. This hour of time is well spent and will result in the issuance of fewer agency objections, especially at the FDNY, where initial reviews take 90 days for comments and an additional 90 days upon resubmission. No project can afford to wait 6 months for an approval. It's just some client jobs they moved in 4 months, and we still don't have a fire alarm approved, right? Number 3, apply the building code universally to the project and do not cherry pick design solutions from various versions of the code. Coming forward on November 7th, the 22 version of the New York City Building Code will be enacted, along with the 2015 version of the International Building Code, known as the IBC. So this long-awaited update encompasses years of collaboration between engineering professionals, the FDNY, and the New York City DOB. And the majority of the changes in the new 2022 code are coming out are going to deal with mechanical. One of the things that is coming up, the LAA, which is a plumber's application, you're no longer going to be able to file for sprinkler heads, which were permitted up to 20. They've reduced the number down to 6 because they believe that there were some unqualified individuals filing LAAs, putting fire and life safety at risk. The last thing, which is always, I think it's also just equally important as the first 3 points. Check your project schedule monthly. And if needed, adjust your expectations based on current approval times and know the delay and known delays at the municipal agencies. As your expediter, your municipal consultant, as your facade engineer, we deal with this every day, and the more we communicate, the better we're able to keep you on your schedule. Jason?
Yeah, thanks, Lou. So Howard, why don't we talk about some of the local laws that people should really keep their eyes on? Being an expert in that, maybe you could share a few.
So I'll assume everybody is familiar with the New York City Facade Inspection and Safety Program. Acronym is FISP. That requires the owners of buildings greater than 6 stories must inspect their exterior walls and appurtenances periodically by a qualified exterior wall inspector. Just a sidebar, the reason it's over 6 stories in 1980, you ask, a brick falling off a building could hurt someone or kill someone just as easily from the 5th floor as the 10th floor. At 1980, the city was the largest owner of real estate of 6-story and under buildings. So once again, the city said, we'll make everybody else comply, but we are exempt from this. There is also local law 126, which just
Howard, actually, sorry, Howard, sorry, I was trying to judge if you were finished. There's a question came in that is relevant. I'll just ask it right here about FISP. So the person writes, is there an enforcement for building owners to get FISP repairs done after the sidewalk shed's been installed? There's some sidewalk in New York City older than me, and buildings are falling apart.
Yes, in the old days, landlords used to put up sidewalk sheds for years, and because it was cheaper to keep the shed up than it was to make the repairs. The city became aware of that, and they require you to hire someone such as ourselves that periodically, every 90 days actually, will tell the city, we need an extension of time because we are 20% into our investigation. We're 25% into our contract documents. But yes, You cannot just put a shed up. There will be violations, but you can, with a QE or architects or engineers like us, we can get you legal extensions every 90 days. Most likely the bridges that you currently see up in the city for years are city-owned buildings, but that's a whole different story. Don't get me started. Local Law 126 came into effect January 1st of this year. It's for parking garage structures and retaining wall inspections. It's brand new. It requires parking garages to be inspected every 6 years. For the first cycle, owners of parking structures located in community districts 1 through 7. This is very different than the facades, which are block and lot guided. Parking garage inspections are community district guided in Manhattan, and will be required to have parking structures inspected and file the required report to the DOB within the cycle window of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. Then there's also Local Law 152, which is gas piping inspections. I'm sure most of you remember a couple of years ago, there were a series of gas explosions, one on 2nd Avenue, about 4th or 5th Street, where they found an entire 2 buildings blew up down to the ground, and they found a contractor made an illegal connection. And then there was a building on Park Avenue and about 105th, 108th Street, somewhere along there, blew up. That was the last straw, and the building department now requires gas piping systems in all buildings except for 1 and 2 family homes must be inspected by a licensed master plumber or a qualified individual working for a licensed master plumber. And then there's Local Law 97, which is about energy efficiency. It sets emission caps for buildings larger than 25,000 square feet. This goal is directed at reducing carbon emissions to the following. By year 2030, reduction goal is 40%, and by 2050, the reduction goal is 80%.
So Lou, a lot of deadlines there. How would failing to meet those deadlines impact the permitting process from your perspective?
Well, if you fail to comply with a mandated local law timeline, the city will issue a violation. They will also, because of the violation, deny new permits and after-hour variance requests, which are needed for construction, obviously, right? They will also refuse to renew a TCO, which puts you in violation of certain financial covenants and also with your insurance company. And they absolutely will not issue a final CBO with any violations on the property. So it's not a good situation. It seems to be getting tighter and tighter every year, which again, from a safety standpoint, makes sense. For an operational standpoint, everybody has to stay on their toes. Paying a fine does not eliminate or cure a violation. Some people are under that false pretense that if I pay the fine, everything is okay. You're still required to perform the work. You have to file the agency reports. You have to hire a qualified licensed inspector, document all of the inspections, and achieve compliance and pay the fine. So at the end of the day, you're still going to do the same job you should have done, except it's going to be a lot more time consuming and a lot more expensive. Compliance makes your building attractive to potential and existing tenants. Ensure a safe environment and avoid senseless monetary loss, liability risk, and project delays.
So Howard, what are some of the changes you've seen in the fines that are associated with violation of these laws?
Jason, well, as I mentioned before, late filing fees for FISP reports are now $1,000 per month, previously $250, and failure to file FISP reports have increased from $1,000 to $5,000 per year. But we've also seen higher penalties in general for different local laws. For example, Local Law 126, the garage and retaining wall inspection law. It's 3 years to get every garage inspected. Unsafe conditions have to be corrected within 90 days of filing a report. That in and of itself is going to be impossible. We all know how long it takes to inspect, get a report, prepare specifications, bid it out, etc. So there's an uphill battle right there. An amended report must be filed within 2 weeks of completing the repairs. If the repairs are not completed, an amended report is not filed within the time frame, time extension requests are to be filed with the Department of Buildings and are subject to review and acceptance. Penalties after applying after the filing period, late filing is $1,000 per month. Failure to file the initial report is $5,000 per year. Failure to correct the unsafe conditions is $1,000 per month. And failure to correct the SREM conditions are $2,000 one time. All of these are meant to obviously generate money and get your attention. On the local law 152, failure to file the gas piping system periodic inspection certification, which is a GPS-2 form, by the due date will incur a $5,000 civil penalty. Local law 97, the energy one, when a building fails to meet the required emission reduction goals, they must pay annual fines of $268 per metric ton that their carbon footprint exceeds the limit. What does that mean? I'll get to that in a minute. There are also fines for not submitting the report, $50 cents per building square foot per month. So if you don't file, if it's a 25,000 square foot building, it's 50 cents per square foot per month, you do the math. But for example, if a building has emissions emitting of 2.21 kilograms of CO2, carbon dioxide, and their building emissions are allowed for that building 2.0 kilograms of CO2, there's a difference of 210 metric tons. This building would owe 210 metric tons times $268 is $56,280 annually. Not submitting a report for a 200,000 square foot building would be $100,000 per month. Based on these high numbers, it's crucial to start now so that you can do whatever retrofits to your building to ensure it has the lowest amount of emissions as possible for the first filing. I just want to comment here, we have a lot, there are two schools of thought we're finding. Lots of landlords are saying, well, the commercial business, the commercial real estate is not good right now. They're going to get relief from the city. So I'm going to wait closer to 2024 and see, because maybe they'll reduce this all. That doesn't seem to be happening. And then there's the other school of thought thinking that the city only makes things worse as time goes by. So they want to get this done now because they feel 5 years from now, like Fisk, every 5 years since 1985, the building department has ratcheted up the requirements and scope of work needed to comply with that law. Similarly, this group of thinkers think that the first law is going to be the easiest law, less onerous, because it's only going to get more onerous with time.
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Let me just jump in for a second.
Yeah, please.
I just want to say, Howard, I totally agree with everything you just said there. And I just wanted to add a couple of more things. We have to give special thanks to Mayor de Blasio for this law. It was part of his 2015 Green New Deal. And fortunately, he exempted all city properties, industrial plants that produce energy.
Shocking.
New York City Housing Authority properties are exempt. So pretty much it's, don't do as I do and do as I say, though.
Didn't you also say power plants were exempt?
Power plants are exempt. That's right. If you're making energy, you don't have to worry about compliance with the law. There are also exemptions for houses of worship for those who, if they get the question from their priest, rabbi, imam, whoever they pray to. But primarily, this law is not going away. This is here to stay. Even on that DOB website, I looked the other day, and I was just so shocked with it. It was in 2024 when you register and you come up and you make your first thing. It's about a $14,000 fine, they were saying, for a commercial building. And by the time 2030 rolled around, it was 330,000. And I would guess by 2050, it'll be, like you said, a half 50 cents a foot, millions of dollars worth of fines. And those fines either affect the landlord's ROI. They get passed on to the tenant as part of operating expenses. So everybody loses, and hopefully, the technology catches up to where the law will be, because obviously, reducing our carbon footprint is a global concern.
So Lou, we actually have a question here that I think you might have answered, but someone asked, with reduced rents and tenants not returning after COVID, greater vacancies, less rent, how are landlords finding the money to pay for these? Do you think it's being passed along to tenants? Is that a successful strategy?
So right now, there's two things that happen. Landlords will either refinance their debt, which is the first thing. Landlords pay a tax based on rent roll. So a lot of landlords have seen decreases in their overall real estate taxes. However, the city has raised the rate for sewer and water. Everything that we're talking about today, we call it a local law, we call it a fee, whatever, it's a tax, right? No matter how you look at it, these are increased operational cost taxes that add to operation and ownership of a building. So I do believe leases will be adjusted. It'll try to be passed on to the tenants. And I think there'll be some pushback, but it'll also force tenants to maybe not leave the lights on all night when they leave, right? We can cut down just with some simple solutions like that.
Okay, well, let's look forward to how people can plan for this. And Howard, we'll start with you here. Kind of what steps would you recommend that owners and landlords take to stay in compliance with all these laws, fines, rules?
I have grown my business under the idea that I wanted to be a trusted advisor to building owners and landlords, as Lou also has built his practice, and want to be a trusted advisor like their accountants and their lawyers. I'm not in it for the one-hit wonder. We like to have long-term relations, as I mentioned before. And one step is to bring in my company, to do an evaluation of the property as your trusted advisor, to help look at your building, kick the tires, and just show you where you're vulnerable or what you need to know in what's coming down the pike. More so you understand it, can plan for it, and most important, budget for it, so there are no surprises. We try to take surprises out of our clients' horizon and try to help them budget for things in a more even manner, because all real estate owners hate surprises and hate sudden expenses that weren't budgeted for.
And Lou, I guess you have a version of that yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, through our combined 75 years of experience between Howard and myself, our firms actively update our clients on existing and proposed laws. We comment through our lobbyists. We have several lobbyists that we keep on retainer that we use regarding expected changes and anticipated impact. Let us assist you with the development of a long-term filing plan, something new, right, that enables you to succeed in a demanding market. Building owners and property managers need to designate a municipal team, a response team, to greet city inspectors in the lobby, at the security desk, and not allow unescorted access. It's very important, because once people enter the building, they go all over the place, and you're not there to represent, or the person who's walking them around, they may be doing what they believe is the right thing, but it ends up with just all sorts of chaos. We've seen this. One of our really good friends and client, he's downtown and he's changing the address of the building one day from number 1 to 999 because the city seems to show up at his building first. I don't want to say his name or the firm, but if he's on, he knows who I'm talking about. The other thing, address violations upon receipt. Sometimes somebody gets them, they hide them, they throw them out, they don't bring them down to the property manager. And nobody knows that they were even issued until 90 days later when they've already gone stale and started to sour. Push your tenant contractors to close out the open permit applications, particularly the fire alarm applications. And let us help build a plan around the local law deadlines. The more informed, the more information, the better the solution and timely.
All right, well, let's get to some questions here. Quite a few have come in, and there's some specifically about roofs. So I'm going to kind of consolidate a couple of these into one since it's the same topic. So when it comes to roofing, when is a permit required to be pulled? The drawings need to be stamped by a New York City architect, and do you need to pull permits when re-roofing? So you're not tearing it off, but only, I guess, literally packing it on. I guess that probably goes to you.
So no, we get 500 an hour to answer that question. I don't know if that's part of the program, but I'll answer it anyway. I'm assuming you're talking about a flat roof on a commercial building and not somebody's 7-Eleven in Staten Island, right?
Lou, they actually sent us a purchase order number in the comments. We're good to go. All set.
Okay, so if you're replacing an entire roof, you pull in a permit. Depending upon what you're going to find, you're probably going to end up repairing the parapet, maybe the coping stones. Depending upon what equipment's in the way, the roof most likely, if it's old, has asbestos in it, it has to be abated. So you need a permit. Let me explain. A lot of people call us and they say, do I need a permit? And I say to them, well, you're on the edge, but it's safer to pull the permit because if you do get a violation, the city charges now 14 times the filing fee as a penalty for work without a permit, gives you a stop work order. If they find asbestos in the roof, I think the minimum fine is $25,000. I don't believe you get jail time for it, but I can tell you that it is far easier to pull a permit and do the work. If you're doing a quick 10 by 10 patch, there's a leak and you got to put some tar down, that's ordinary repair. If you are pulling up paving stones, putting the roof in, putting in a green roof, all these things are permitted. And you want those things, you want this type of work covered because sometimes things do blow off of a roof and you want to make sure that you have a permit in place.
And just to pick up on that, Lou, I'm guessing that question came from an older person from the good old days when you could replace an entire roof without a permit.
Right.
But because of asbestos, because of as Lou alluded to, the potential masonry work necessary to raise the flashing heights, the energy code they want you to comply with, you need to put more insulation in, you may have to raise door saddles. They want to make sure that it's being done properly. So therefore, yes, replacing of roofing needs a permit. Patching does not, but you cannot say you're patching 100% of your roof and expect not to file.
Right, you're not patching 25,000, square feet of a 30,000 square foot roof. I mean, you can if you look good in orange, and we'll pick you up at Rikers on a weekend if something happens. But I strongly suggest you pull the permit. I think it's in everybody's interest, and it's safe.
So here's another question, kind of a question, just raising an issue. It says there seems to be a major focus from DOB on balcony conditions, not only requiring sidewalk sheds below. If unsafe conditions are noted, but basically very difficult for owners. Any commentary on that?
Sure. A balcony is part of the FISP inspection because not only is facade inspection, it is the facade and facade appurtenances. A balcony railing, little Juliet balconies, all of those things are appurtenances that do fall out under the FISP law. Not many, but about 10 years ago on 57th and 2nd, unfortunately, a woman was on her balcony and leaned against the railing, and the railing gave way and she fell to her death. That, mandated by the building department, had us all go out, re-inspect our buildings, specifically for the balcony railing lateral loading requirements. And since that cycle, I think it was the 7th cycle we had to do that. Since then, the building department is very concerned, very focused on the condition of balcony railings. The post pockets that the balcony railings are anchored into the balconies are always under stress and cracked, and a lot of spalling concrete comes out of those connections. So yes, balconies are very much a part of the FISP inspection.
And one here for Lou. Actually, let me finish out the thought, Howard. Are sidewalk shed also required for facade inspections?
They are not required for facade inspections per se. And, you know, now, again, in the last cycle, the city has mandated that you have to inspect your facade every 60 feet, and you have to do probes to show that wall ties exist and are code compliant. The process of doing probes requires a shed. Not inspecting, but the actual performing of probes requires a shed.
Okay, great. And one for you, Lou, because it says this question's for Lou.
Okay, watch out. Here we go.
We recently had a substantial delay getting an updated TCO. Do you anticipate these delays to continue in the foreseeable future?
I think we might look at the most recent delay as the good old days. Going forward. Yes, I do. The city designed a computerized system that they launched with all good intentions. The problem with New York City is that we have building stock from the 1880s. We have it from 1934 building code, 68 building code, 73 building code. We have buildings that are brand new. If you enter a new building application into DOB now, it will work smoother than it will a pre-DOB now, which is probably about 97% of all buildings, which have to be data entered into the system, where there seems to be glitches that come up that the DOB has to work through. It had gotten so bad that the city decided to renew all TCOs for 90 days without inspection, simply because they couldn't keep up with the volume. I don't expect it to improve. I know that people are working hard to find the solution, and the key word is here, finding the solution that'll work. I don't expect it to be the way it was several years ago, where every 90 days you put in for a TCO renewal, it was issued and you were on your way and the buildings were good. No, I don't see it. I don't see that much of an improvement. I think you'll still have delays going forward.
Okay. Let's end on that low note. So Lou, Howard, thank you for your time. Just want to point out a couple of things. No matter where you are, you can get in touch with us. We, as I mentioned before, are all across the country, and there's a URL here I'd recommend for you if you'd like to book some time with Howard or Lou or some of our other experts, milrose.com/book session. So as I mentioned, this has been recorded. We'll be sending out a link, hopefully by the end of the week, once we get all of our kind of logistics tidied up. Howard, Lou, parting thoughts?
Well done, Jason. Howard, thank you. You know, I just want to just tell everybody, first of all, thank you for joining us. And keep in mind that we're working in 43 of the continental 48 states. So we're very, very busy. Brick and mortar retail is very strong out west. Residential, educational markets have not retreated. In fact, I think they're accelerating. And commercial and hospitality, you know, they're making gains to recover. So we hope to make some announcements in the near future on our continued execution of our 5-year plan. These are really exciting times for Milrose and for our clients, and we appreciate your loyalty and look forward to a fabulous second half of 22.
I'd like to second that. I'd like to thank everybody for taking valuable time out of your busy schedules to come listen. Again, we like to be trusted advisors. Sometimes I've had clients where I, advised them for 5 years before I actually got $1 out of them, but, they appreciate it and they've been with me 20, 25 years. We want to help you, guide you and help you navigate through this myriad of municipal chaos. And that's what we're here for. And thank you again for your time.
Thanks, everyone.